everybody. Welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about EA maybe doing massive layoffs and Beast of Reincarnation reviews and what that might mean for the future of that game. It's going to be a good one because we have Jan Ochoa on the show. Jan, how are you doing?
Jeff Grubb, I am doing fine. Solid 65 now, I would say.
Listen, we want to be going upward. That's all that really matters to me. That's like when I talk to my kids, it's like, hey, I don't care where you compare to other kids, just as long as you are improving, that's all I care about. Jam, what number tie is this?
This is tie number 2. Okay. I wasn't expecting to be on anything today, and then you put the call out, and I'm like, all right, well, let's iron the dress shirt. Let's get the tie out. This is tie number 2. For whatever reason, I put my camera on log today. This is a bluish white tie. We're on tie number 2.
See, I like it. I feel like if I were to start doing this, Jan, I would look like a young Republican. No, young man. No, not young anymore. But I would just look like a regular Republican.
Young at heart.
Young at heart, sure, yeah. I'm glad you're doing it. You can pull it off, and I'm very happy about that.
Thank you, Jeff Grubb. Thank you.
I do I saw you do this. I saw you post about buying the ties and bulk. I'm like, what fun clothing item could I get into? And I'm at a loss. I don't know. I'm kind of really in the t-shirt and cargo short. I won't call it a rut. It's a happy valley that I'm in.
I feel like you could get really into 80s and 90s style windbreakers, Grubb.
I see. Okay, I do like the starter jackets and stuff like that. I have been eyeing some of those. So, retro stuff, but maybe Columbia, I'll go upscale. Yeah. That'd be swanky.
Jeff Grubb, you did pull off the fishing vest quite well. If you want to get into vest era, I could see it happening.
I think I used that. There was a wasp's nest that got in the wall of my house, and I think I mostly dealt with it. But when I dealt with it, the ones that were freaking out went into the house and went into the basement floorboards here. And so occasionally I will find one in the basement. And I used that vest to kill it real quick because it was the closest thing next to me. And I'm like, well, maybe it might not be dead. So I just got to never wear that vest again.
Jeff Grubb, I mean this completely complimentary. I feel like you could also pull off one of those sports photographer vests as well. I could see you on the lines of a football game with a gigantic lens next to Marshawn Lynch.
Right, yes, yeah, and Randy Johnson. I definitely want to be a guy who's wearing too much stuff, or has too many pockets. I want to be that to me is very comforting. All these jackets on TikTok or whatever, where it's the travel jacket and there's 3,000 pockets hidden all over the place. I would lose stuff in there, but it would still comfort me to have something like that for sure.
Perfect.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Let's explain ourselves. We're a bunch of internet video game doofuses over here at Giant Bomb, and what you can do is support us to make sure we can keep being internet video game doofuses. Go to giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member. If you do, you are supporting independent games media, and we are very thankful for you for that. It means the world, makes our whole world go round. So we appreciate that. If you are someone who's going to become a new member, which you should, it's going to get you ad-free versions of our shows. It's going to get you premium access to exclusive content. I think we have the Cat Jerfman finally really close because we have 3 episodes in the can now. We're going to have a 4th later this week. It's happening. 9 Lives is still going on. This is the Run Sewer Shark. We're recording some new episodes of that soon. These are all exclusive shows you can only get if you become a premium member.
Jeff Grubb, soon the folks at home will learn about the brilliance that is Boy Salad.
Boy Salad, it's the time of Boy Salad. Our age of Boy Salad is coming to an end.
I'm so happy everyone gets to learn about Boy Salad soon.
I'm very excited. I keep telling Steph about it, and she asks me to stop, but I am very excited. All right, let's see here what else is going to say. Oh yeah, as far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with EA could be set for mass layoffs as it aims to cut costs following the Saudi acquisition. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. Electronic Arts could be set for mass layoffs following its acquisition by Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund, the PIF fund. The company confirmed on Tuesday that the deal had been completed, meaning it is now fully owned by an investor consortium comprised of PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners, with the PIF, which again is the Saudi Arabian private or sovereign wealth fund, owning 93.4%. So they own the vast majority. The deal is the largest ever leveraged buyout in history. A leveraged buyout is an acquisition where most of the cost is covered by borrowed money. In this case, it was like reported to be around $20 billion. Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier posted on Blue Sky that this amounts to a total debt of for EA of around actually $18 billion, with the company having to pay around $1.8 billion per year in interest alone. Schreier reports that EA's EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, is around $1.5 billion, meaning it can just about cover the interest payments without reducing the debt. Right? So like first of all, those are different numbers, 1.5 billion versus 1.8 billion. One is less than the other, and it's worse. That is just like the interest payments. So they'd be able to pay the interest payments without reducing the debt. So they would just keep paying this number in perpetuity if they can't get that, if they can't pay more of that interest down. As such, the company has reportedly told debt investors that it's looking to make cuts to reduce its annual expenses, and it's time for that song and dance that I think we've all been expecting as we were having these conversations about this over and over again, Jan. Largest leverage buyout in history. We were like, this means the games are probably going to get worse for a bunch of reasons. Obviously, they were probably going to have to make cuts, and now here we are. It really feels like that's in the cards. EA's annual EBITDA is around $1.5 billion, which should be enough to service the interest payments, Schreier wrote on Blue Sky. But the publisher has told debt investors that it will cut $700 million in annual costs, including $170 million in organizational efficiencies per Bloomberg. In other words, mass layoffs. That is, that's Jason's sort of read on the situation. But I think we all are kind of be like, yeah, what, like the $170 million in organizational efficiencies. We know what that means at this point. Yeah, it really just feels like this company's going to hit a wall, and the only things that will survive are going to be the ones that we kind of know EA for at this moment, which are the big sports games, and those will just get more and shitified and worse as we go along, so they can squeak out a few more dollars here and there from people, right?
100%, Grubb. We saw this happening with the Microsoft acquisitions over the years of teams being reduced, redundancies across the board, and all of this efficiency cost cutting, and it just feels incredibly corporate and heartless to frame it as that. And of course the games are going to get more shitty because we're going to be losing the institutional talent that have been at these studios. I could see this happening with all the sports games. I could see this happening maybe even with The Sims, other IP that EA owns. I feel like we're just going to get rinse and repeat games. And hey, EA, I feel like you could have saved maybe $38.6 million if you didn't pay your CEO that much. That would have helped take care of some of the operating costs from the tippy top instead of firing your workers.
Yep. Anyone who owns EA stock because of this going through is going to get around $200, a little bit more than that. That includes a lot of employees, so this is going to be a big payday for many of them, but it's going to mean a lot of job cuts as well, very likely. The question would be like, where do those cuts come from? They've already cut pretty deep. They've, as the story says, EA has already made a number of layoffs in recent years. Last year, Reuters reported that the company laid off 300 to 400 staff, including around 100 at Respawn Entertainment, and canceled a Titanfall game that was in development. Right? It's like, and then we talk about, okay, well, what's left that's in development that they could cut? And it's like Mass Effect, right? I mean, it's BioWare. I guess because everything else is making quite a bit of money, but they'll still find ways to cut that, to keep putting those things out. But maybe they don't have faith in BioWare. I mean, I guess like Motive, EA Motive, like what are they all working on? They all worked on Battlefield, but apparently Battlefield was doing just fine. So anyone that was working on Battlefield, I guess they probably do cut some of those support studios and begin outsourcing that to other studios around the world. That's probably the move that they make here.
Yeah, it's wild that Battlefield kind of like bounced back from the dead and had a very successful game, only for this to only benefit the CEO and for that team to get laid off. I'm looking at other miscellaneous IP franchises that EA owns. It just feels bad across the board of those games going to shit. And we mentioned this yesterday on the podcast, Grubb, but like Mass Effect and some other BioWare games, very LGBTQ friendly. And given the new owners, I don't know if that is something that is allowed or how much leeway a company like BioWare is even allowed to have at that point.
Yep.
Why don't we have more Peggle? I don't think we're going to get more Peggle at this point.
Right. More Peggle, more PopCap games. What the hell? Yeah, that stuff's not in the cards. It doesn't feel like anything that is not a $1 billion seller, like anything that doesn't make $1 billion probably just is not of interest to them.
I also don't think, I mean, we've already seen this with when a studio or a company will get taken over or acquired by someone else, is that the runway is exponentially shorter at that point to take any type of risks or to let a game breathe and try and become successful. I feel like EA, this past current iteration of EA, was willing to give a game like Skate some runway to breathe and like try and become successful, figure out their footing. I don't see that happening now if a game does not have immediate returns.
Yep. And you know, all this goes without like pointing out the fact that you know, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, according to U.S. intelligence, allegedly ordered the death of a journalist. These are the kinds of things where it's like, oh yeah, it's like I mean, not that various other countries that might have investments in these companies don't have problems, but it's like this is just such a clear attempt to wash the image of Saudi Arabia. How successful they'll be at that, I don't know. It always feels like it's constantly backfiring, where it's like instead people just end up hating these companies more and more. Like the Live Golf tournament thing that was supposed to be a competitor to the PGA fell apart kind of immediately. It was like falling apart as they were putting it together. And it doesn't feel like this is going to go. I mean, this could go differently, but it doesn't feel like it's going to feel like it goes much differently because they have this huge amount of debt here and a risk averse company and people who are not going to be, so they're just going to keep their heads down while they vest anyone who like wants to get like continue getting their money here. It's not going to lead to good things for the many people who work at this company. So like, yeah, I don't really care much at all about EA these days, but I do care that the people that were working there had jobs. And there are some teams that I do deeply care about, like Respawn.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just the cuts are going to keep coming. The games are probably going to suffer, and they're going to be under this authoritarian regime.
Yeah, I don't see this authoritarian regime willing to take risks and have any type of fun or what could be considered as fun. I mentioned this yesterday as well, Grubb. I didn't think it was possible for the prospect of a future Harry Potter game to get worse, but it just doubled down.
That's Warner Brothers. But don't worry. That is under the Ellisons, Jan. So
cool.
Your point stands.
Sick. Great.
Yeah. It's shitty all over.
Yeah, and you know, EA just has like a bunch of miscellaneous IP that they've been sitting on as well. Like, I don't think. Are we going to ever get another SSX? Are we ever going to get another Titanfall?
Yeah.
You know, and then I worry about games that I actually did like the Star Wars Jedi series. Like, what's going to happen to that? What's going to happen to Cal Kestis, Grubb?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, that Respawn team is supposedly, you know, according to what I've heard, they got to work on that next game in the Jedi Fallen Order series right away, the third one. They're going to make a trilogy. Whether there will be any more after that is a big question mark. But this does change things. Do they like look at the numbers? Like, yeah, I mean, look, this game sold well, but does it stand a chance of making $1 billion? And the answer is no, probably. And so, like, does it get reassessed, or do they just cut the team in half and say, well, yeah, figure it out with half the people, and then this financially makes sense for us, and we end up with a much worse game because of that. All of that it seems very likely at this point.
Yeah, these are all definite possibilities I can see happening. Good luck ever finding or getting another Dead Space, guys.
Yes. So, yeah, just like for people like wonder about like other Star Wars projects. Someone said KOTOR here. KOTOR, nothing to do with EA. That has nothing to do with Sony either. Remember that showed up at that PlayStation State of Play. Sony will completely wash their hands of it. Effectively, that game was canceled. It has been picked up by a different studio over at Saber. They're working on it, but that's nothing to do with EA. What is the other Star Wars game? There's Star Wars Zero Company. That is EA. That's Respawn working with an external team. That's coming very soon, though, so that won't be affected. And then there is Star Wars Galactic Racer. Nothing to do with EA. That is a completely separate thing. A lot of these Star Wars games now have nothing to do with EA after they lost that license for the most part. Okay, let's see here. Let's talk about Beast of Reincarnation reviews. It was at like let me double check here. I have it over on OpenCritic. Beast of Reincarnation at 76 on OpenCritic. I don't know. People are saying reviews are mixed. I think they're kind of all in this 7 range, this 7 to 7.5 sort of range. 6 out of 10 from Travis Northup at IGN. Beast of Reincarnation is an action RPG that has some great ideas blossoming here and there, and they can be hard to spot among the weeds. 3 stars from Matt Wales at Eurogamer. Game Freak borrows liberally from the genre's biggest hits, and while it's messy and muddled, it's salvaged by exhilarating combat and traversal and a surprising amount of soul. 3.5 stars from Shalian McDale at Giant Bomb. Beast of Reincarnation feels like the result of Game Freak's designers having something to say, or at least wishing they did, but constantly struggling to find the right words. That's me. It eventually becomes a very fun action RPG to play, but stumbles many, many times on the path of getting there. I'll say, talking to Sean as he was playing it, that is the sense I got. It's like, started kind of cool, and he definitely was way more into it by the end, but not enough to like sort of change his overall opinion. He sort of averaged out higher than I thought he would. Well, how are you reading all this?
I know that some folks will get bent out of shape with the game getting like a 3, 3.5, or like a 7 out of 10. But I think this is incredibly encouraging for Game Freak's first foray into like this style of game. This just seems like a incredibly ambitious type of game versus their other previous releases. You know, the mainline Pokemon games, and then like the albeit very smaller titles like Pocket Card Jockey. Good for Game Freak. This seems like I feel like a lot of folks will flock to this game. As Sean said, perhaps when it reaches a sale. I don't know if this is on Game Pass or whatever tier of PlayStation Plus, but I feel like some folks will eventually trickle over and check it out. The next news story I feel like is also encouraging for folks to eventually check it out versus checking it out at launch. But I trust Sean's opinion. This is close to a Sean game where it's a character action Jimmy Jam. It does feel like it is trying to serve several masters, Grubb, and it is definitely inspired by a multitude of games, and it doesn't quite nail one of those all the way, but given the influences that the game is like building upon, I'm still interested in eventually circling back to Beast of Reincarnation.
Yeah, I think, these are the kinds of reviews that I was expecting for something like 007 First Light, right? Where it's like, man, eventually it kind of sorts itself out, but it's kind of rocky through there. And it's like, okay, no, they pulled it off somehow by really, I don't know how they did it, but like that was really impressive to sort of take this new idea that they hadn't really done before, or at least not at that scale, and deliver on it in a big way the first time around. Obviously, you could say Hitman's similar, but they do a lot more than what they do in Hitman in First Light. This is what happens with when a studio tries their hand at a big style of game their first time, is like they have to sort of go through the learning process, and often those lessons show up and are obvious when you're playing the game. Now, will they get to follow that up with a sequel? Back in the day, this kind of game coming out at this sort of in this state with these kinds of reviews, absolutely would have.
Yeah.
Would have had a chance. Would have like sold it well enough. A couple 100,000 copies maybe, and that would have been enough to justify it. We're in a completely different time. Who knows? It's Game Freak. They could probably afford it, but are they actually going to see it through? We'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, though, I think you're right. Sean's right. And there's reasons to be optimistic about coming to this game later as it does get reduced in price, because the next story here is Game Freak is planning regular Beast of Reincarnation updates starting next week. And the whole idea here is we hear you. We're listening. We're going to respond directly to the sort of mixed reception that this game has had so far. Chris Sculling at VGC writes, Game Freak says it's listening to player feedback on Beast of Reincarnation and is planning a number of updates. The game was released on Monday with critical reception being generally positive, if not overwhelmingly so. Its Metacritic score currently sits at 73. Players are also divided on their initial opinion of the game. User reviews on Steam are currently sitting at mixed, with 53% of 1,600 plus reviews submitted so far considered positive. Game Freak has now posted a message via its official account on Twitter, informing players that it's listening to their criticisms and taking them on board as they work on continuous updates. Thank you for playing Beast of Reincarnation, the statement reads. We take your feedback to heart and are currently planning a series of continuous updates. Please continue to share your feedback and suggestions with us. The first patch, which is planned to release within a week, will implement the following changes: camera adjustments, increased text size, story pacing improvements with ongoing adjustments planned, changing the default setting from cinematic to performance, and other bug fixes. Beast of Reincarnation is something of a departure for Game Freak, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, those are things that I guess I don't know what story pacing improvements really looks like. I have no idea how that gets implemented very quickly. But increased text size, camera adjustments, they are making it clear it's like we are trying to make the experience of playing this game improved. We're not just going to keep adding stuff on top. Like we recognize that there's something off here. We're going to look for ways to improve that. I mean, we've seen this work before, and it feels like this game is not so far gone that they couldn't accomplish that. Is this one of those ones that in 6 months looks very, very different for a lot of people?
I don't know if it looks radically different, but I do see people with renewed interest, Grubb. I mean, the problem is in this current calendar season of games, I can see a lot of people kind of being tighter with their purse strings because of the expected deluge of games coming out in September, early October. But I could see this game having a second potential life later in the year during the holidays. Especially, we've seen the success stories like Star Wars Outlaws, right? Star Wars Outlaws came to very mixed reviews, and after some nudging and zhuzhing around with some updates afterwards, that game felt like it had a second life and revitalized the game later in the year, where a lot of people had revisited it and had some positive things to say. I think I had said this during the quick look, where I would be excited for the prospect of a sequel because it kind of reminded me of Stellar Blade and how Stellar Blade was very promising, and I'm interested to see what a sequel would look like. Now, given what we're seeing of Stellar Blade 2 and AI music
you don't like the AI dancers and the background footage? And come on, what do you mean? This enables us to compete with the big guys, right? That's what everyone wants, is for little guys to compete with the big guys using AI.
Yay. I hope this is successful enough for perhaps a sequel, or maybe, I don't know, a DLC additional chapter to get greenlit down the line.
Yeah. I think that this is definitely a time where people will kind of reassess games on a regular basis, usually alongside sales or it getting entered into the PlayStation Plus or whatever at some point. It already is in Game Pass. I think that, if they could sort of figure out a few things, people will actually probably check back in on this at some point, but you're right. It will be after this current deluge. It's just going to be so easy not to buy this game now and instead play something else. Now, maybe maybe the Game Pass aspect of it does help it a little bit. That I don't know what the effect of that is anymore, but maybe enough people will like champion it and kind of be like locked into these changes as they happen and sort of proselytize what does get improved. I definitely felt that way with Star Wars Outlaws. But I like that. I thought that I remember like playing that game early on, but like I know this is a game that this is going to happen to, where in 9 months to 18 months, people are going to return to the game and I'm like, it was always good. And I'm like, yeah, because it was always good. And it's just kind of in this weird spot where it's Ubisoft. And there was a bunch of factors that held that game back, as well as it having some issues for sure that annoyed people. They did address those and improve it, but it was easy to tell looking at Outlaws in that moment that it was going to have this like resurgence at some point. There was a lot of good foundational game there. I think this one is kind of close to that as well.
Yeah.
It will just be like, can they get over that hump?
It's interesting because this game is not specifically the same type of game that fans of Game Freak are used to playing, right? This isn't
right.
a bite-sized experience like some of their previous titles, or this isn't anything like a Pokemon game. You do have a furry companion. That's great. So I'm interested to see. I feel like there is a gap where we haven't had perhaps like a Souls-like game or a character action game in a hot minute. So folks that are big fans of Nier Automata, Bayonetta, Devil May Cry, they may they may find this or may see this and flock to it. I have started to see combo videos and combat videos spawning off of Stellar Blade, so maybe that will build some positive momentum. Not Stellar Blade, sorry, Beast of Reincarnation. Also, I don't know, it's got very fun traversal.
Right.
I don't know how much traversal there winds up being later in the game, but you get a weird, cool tree root hair float. And Sean likened it to Flood from Super Mario Sunshine.
Sure, that's right. Yeah. I'm glad it actually ends up playing that way. That's fun. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, plenty of headlines to get into. If you want to skip out on these messages, we offer you a way to do that. Go to giantbomb.com/join. There we post the ad-free versions of the video and audio show. We will be right back. It's Game Mess Mornings. I'm Jeff Grubb. That's Jan Ochoa. We're getting right back into things. Assassin's Creed Valhalla director makes sudden return to Ubisoft and will lead the series moving forward. From Connor McCarr at Eurogamer, the director of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Black Flag, Origins has returned to Ubisoft to lead development of future Assassin's Creed games. Eric Baptizat? Damn, that's what I'm going to go with. Spent almost 16 years at the French video game giant before leaving for Motive Studio in 2021. There, he worked as the director of the Dead Space remake, as well as the game director on Battlefield 6. The news was not actually announced by Baptizat, but by his peer, Jean Guizdon, the head of content on Assassin's Creed. Guizdon wrote on LinkedIn, after an incredible professional journey, including 16 years at Ubisoft, and then leading the critically acclaimed Dead Space remake at EA Motive, Eric Baptizat is coming back to the Assassin's Creed family as our new game director for the brand. Eric needs no introduction to this universe. 16 years at Ubisoft, key contributions to Black Flag, Origins, and Valhalla as game director. His passion for gameplay craft and his deep connection to this franchise speak for themselves. Seeing someone with this expertise, his expertise, his rigor, and his collaborative spirit step into this role fills me with confidence and honestly a lot of excitement for what's ahead for the brand. Welcome back, Eric. Okay. So I think this gives us a chance to sort of reassess like where Assassin's Creed at, where Ubisoft's at. I think we continue to think overall Ubisoft is lost in the woods, lost at sea, whatever metaphor you want to use, and it's not like any one choice like this is going to change that. So, like, could this at least, boost the future of Assassin's Creed, which is a series people still care about? We saw that Black Flag Resync sold so well.
Yeah,
people were like so thirsty for that, and I think this is like them Ubisoft going, okay, we concede, we recognize that you guys want maybe more of that. I don't think this means they suddenly get rid of all the RPG elements that got really stuffed into the recent Assassin's Creed games. Those games have done well as well. People play them a ton. But I do think they're like, hey, maybe we can like strike a balance. So let's bring back someone that really understood Black Flag. And here you go. Does this sort of change the trajectory of Assassin's Creed, or is that sort of such a big ship that maybe even something like this doesn't have much of an effect?
I hope they are able to right the ship with Assassin's Creed. I don't wish any ill will. I'd love to get reinterested in the franchise, Grubb. It feels like it had kind of spun out and become such a big behemoth in a different way that I was interested in, and not a game franchise I wanted to necessarily engage with because of how big the games are and how, I don't want to say samey, but like how it feels like it is a similar experience from game to game. Now, Valhalla was different than previous titles. I don't know. I'm glad that it is in familiar hands, and that Dead Space remake, from my memory, was very good. So shouts out to Eric Baptizat and everything, and familiar hands as well. Someone that has been with the franchise, so he knows the ups and downs of it. I just don't know what Assassin's Creed could do to get me reinterested. And I don't want to say that just to make Assassin's Creed 2 Brotherhood again.
Yeah, right. I would love that. Yeah, exactly. I was ready to check out Black Flag Resynced. I got an excuse. It was going to be on the besties. They were talking about it, and it's like, okay, great. I want to check this out. And what I played there was like, oh, I kind of see exactly what that game is. It is for sure. It is just that game again. But they sanded off not just like rough edges, they just sanded off everything to like just make it the smoothest playing experience possible. Now, that is in some ways, I think if it's your first playthrough, to its detriment a little bit. Mm-hmm. But for most people, that's not who's playing that game. Most people are going to play that game because they played it originally and they want to play it again. Maybe there were a lot of new people, but they're not complaining about this either. It doesn't seem like, because they don't know any better. But it's just so easy to play at a certain point that it gives you this chance to zoom through and have those experiences all over again. And it's like, oh yeah, nostalgia for 2010s gaming is maybe like reaching a fever pitch. We'll talk about it a little bit, Jan.
Yeah.
With some and like nostalgia for like early 2000s gaming, maybe not so hot. And it's like, so how do you recapture that? I think at the very least, the fact that Ubisoft is making this hire says that they recognize that if you are going to be making console style video games, traditional style games as a product, not games as a service, there is an audience of people who are making those purchases, and the ones that have kind of the biggest sway in the marketplace right now are the ones who grew up playing games from like 2008 to 2016. And what can you do to sort of appeal to them? And this is a person that sort of helped define what their tastes were in the first place. So, look, do I think this is going to have some big effect on the future of Assassin's Creed? I don't. I do think that this is at the very least a smart move. They could have made a worse move. This could have been like, let's make it more like live service. This at the very least feels like they acknowledge that we know who's buying our games.
Yeah,
that seems good.
And we've said multiple times on this show and across this website that we don't necessarily trust leadership at Ubisoft to be making the right decisions. This is one of at least a positive decision, right? To, hey, people play single player games. People play games by themselves. People just want to like immerse themselves into a world. There's no reason why a game like Assassin's Creed couldn't also eventually be like someone's all the time or forever game like a Red Dead Redemption 2 is. Yep. And I think if they just kind of like lean into that, if they lean into what made the franchise so popular in the 2010s, but maybe put some extra pizzazz on top, potentially that could just continue to be a cash machine for Ubisoft.
Yeah. They probably also are going to do some more remakes, although Black Flag definitely felt like the right one for sure. I don't know if any of them will be as big as that.
Eric, bring back Prince of Persia. Maybe you can do it.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, you could make that happen. Let's go. Man, playing Cat Jerfman, and it's like, damn, Prince of Persia was influential, and we need more games to like remember that. Marvel Rivals is shrinking by as much as 40 gigabytes. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. Yeah, cool. Next update for Marvel Rivals will drastically decrease. I can't read that phrase, drastically decrease, without hearing Scott Steiner go, drastic go down. Drastically decrease the game's install size, developer NetEase Games says. Season 9.5 for the team-based PvP superhero shooter will launch on August 7th and will include an overhaul to the game's textures that will see a big reduction in file size on the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S versions of the game. According to the studio, the resulting update will see the PC version's install size drop by around 40 gigabytes, while the console versions will see a reduction by around 15 gigabytes. NetEase says the decrease is the result of texture compression, but has claimed to players that there will be zero difference to visual detail despite this. In a video breaking down Season 9.5, creative director Guang explained the upcoming install size optimization to players. I basically gave a description there. Okay, yeah, I mean, this is just like one of those nice PSAs for the most part, but man, that's a huge number. 40 gigabytes is huge.
That's huge. When I go through my moments of weakness, Grubb, where I download and delete and re-download the game, this is going to help me out because the game has gone pretty hefty, Grubb. I think this would have been fun to maybe drop with an Ant-Man announcement.
Oh, that's funny, Jan.
You know, hey, Marvel Rivals, we should talk. We should talk several times. So get on, hit up my line. But
I was just I was playing Astrobot with the kid and the shrinking down and doing the Ant-Man thing. Basically, that effect is
so good.
It's still mind blowing.
Yeah,
it's so good. It happens so smoothly, and you see the little playset stuff that you can like jump in or whatever, and then suddenly it's big and it's man, a whole Ant-Man game like that. Let's go. Let's do it. It's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
122.5 gigabytes is the install size for Marvel Rivals on my machine right now.
Imagine having some whimsy. But yeah, Marvel Rivals continues to truck along, Grubb. They just had a trailer for another character that they're dropping, the Hood. And I believe he's voiced by Damian Priest from the WWE, which is
no way,
cool.
Really?
Yeah. Jubilee dropped. We all know how excited I got over Cyclops and everything. I'm curious.
They did the bathing suits, and honestly, this is nice because it was already at like 250 gigabytes, and then they reduced the size of Captain America's hog, got it down to 120 gigabytes. So this big changes over there.
Grubb, I've been able to resist dropping money in Marvel Rivals since it dropped, but then some of those swimsuit skins, just holy moly.
I mean, what's the point of playing these games if you're not going to buy the swimsuit skins? Of course, absolutely.
You know, I did not mind when everyone on my teammate except me was wearing swimsuits, so that was fun.
Right, exactly. I could just look at the other players for sure. 120 gigabyte hog is the name of my garage band, says one of the chatters. That's very good. All right, let's keep going here. FIFA's first non-EA published soccer game has already suffered major layoffs. This is from Ford James at Polygon. Refactor Games, the studio behind the FIFA World Cup Launch Edition game that was released just 2 months ago and was exclusive to Netflix, has laid off 85% of its workforce. This news was confirmed by studio head Nathan Burba to GamesBeat, while an Inside Gaming report claims that publisher Delphi Interactive pulled funding for the studio. This information is corroborated by Barclay Chantel, an ex-art director at Refactor Games, who posted on LinkedIn, "Well, it looks like I'm back on the market looking for a job again. Delphi just pulled the plug on Refactor Studios right after we shipped the FIFA World Cup game for Netflix. The entire studio was let go today, so if anyone is looking for talent, I could put you in contact with some pretty awesome folks." Prior to FIFA World Cup Launch Edition, Refactor Games worked on Football Simulator, which is a Steam early access title about the other type of football, played with an irregularly shaped ball, shoulder pads, and blah, blah, blah. Despite its very positive user review consensus, according to SteamDB, it peaked at 188 concurrent players in January 2025. The time of writing has reached a maximum of 10 in the last 24 hours, so it's not like the studio had something else to fall back onto, basically. The idea of quickly spooling up a bunch of laborers to get something ready for the World Cup and then mistreating those people is just so shocking to me, Jan.
FIFA of all companies doing this?
Yes, FIFA being involved in sort of the mistreatment of the people who actually make the whole thing happen. Weird. Yeah, I guess this one, it was one of those like situations where it always felt like, are you sure you're
Yeah.
gonna just go do a FIFA soccer game without EA? Okay, how's that gonna work? Oh, you're gonna on Netflix?
Yeah.
I get it to a certain degree of like net from the Netflix side of things. They're just trying a bunch of stuff. This was never gonna work for the World Cup game.
No. Yeah. The timing is interesting. And Grubb, we were just talking about like an owner or a publisher or someone acquiring a game, not giving said game the proper runway, or let alone the team. This is another instance of that, of like exploitation of workers, and I just don't know how we can prevent it, Grubb.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, this is where the industry's kind of returned back to in a really harsh way. There was this idea there for a while that, studios and publishers will have these games as a product and games as a service, and games as a product can make a lot of money in a couple of weeks, and then they sort of fade away quickly. Meanwhile, we can smooth over those peaks and valleys with the live service games that have more predictable income. And now that we have these two working in conjunction with one another, everyone can kind of stay employed, and we don't have to have the boom and bust cycle of hiring and laying off as we build up a game and then release a game. And that did happen for a couple of years, and then we've seen what happened with the saturation of the live service market and a bunch of people making way too many lottery ticket purchases in terms of trying way too many live service games. And now the conventional wisdom is go back to just hiring people when you're making a game and then fire them as soon as it's out. So you could stop paying them, and then you could just start counting the money yourself. And it's, oh God, this industry did not solve anything. This lie that was sold to us about the live service games smoothing that stuff over has been exposed. And in the meantime, it's like, oh, other industries that have ways of doing this, whether it's, the gig idea behind Hollywood or whatever, and moving from job to job while having insurance through a union or whatever, that never got implemented. So this is just a worse version of this concept that we've had in gaming for a very long time now.
Also baffling that this is coming from Netflix. I know Netflix has made like investments into games. I just didn't know that the FIFA game was tied to Netflix.
Right. I think everyone, World Cup happens and everyone wants a piece, and this is a way for Netflix to get that. I mean, who knows? Maybe Netflix had some streaming rights in some countries or whatever. I have no idea.
Sure.
But yeah, it's this idea of like, hey, here's a moment, and this is a way to maybe remind people we have games or whatever, and we know FIFA is huge, and EA lost their name. We're going to get it instead, and then we're going to take that over. And the people who make those choices clearly don't understand how that really works. Okay, yeah, I wrote down here, what in the hell is happening with Black Ops 1+2 sales on PlayStation, Jan? This is from Reese Elliott at Alinea Analytics. Shouts out to Reese.
Hi, Reese.
The two Black Ops ports have together shifted 11 million plus copies on PlayStation in under a month. The Black Ops and Black Ops 2 Shadow dropped on PS4 and PS5 on July 9th, ported by Iron Galaxy. Shouts out Dave Lang, with the full campaign, multiplayer, and zombies mode intact. Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 were ports, not remakes. Rather than a from the ground up overhaul of visuals and gameplay, they were just straight up 1080p ports of the 2010 and 2012 games. Like, no changes. They also cost $40 a pop, but $20 for PlayStation Plus subscribers until August 6th. Sony never made the PS3 originals backward compatible, so PlayStation players couldn't go back without digging out their PS3s. That's why there was a lot of pent-up demand, as Reese points out here. And then that detonated when it was actually released. And as per their estimates, Black Ops 2 sold 8.2 million copies on PlayStation, 93% on PS5, 7% on PS4, for about $325 million, while Black Ops 1 sold 3 million copies for around $110 million. Combined, that's $435 million on PlayStation in under a month. Now, it's not happening on Xbox because Xbox had backward compatibility, although apparently player numbers boosted there. And, Sony gets a good chunk of these games selling because it's 30% on their platform. Microsoft gets the rest. So it's not like Xbox is not getting money from this, but it's a reminder of like, oh yeah, when their games really succeed, it does seem to be on PlayStation when they sell very well there. That's where they're making a lot of money. So let's make all our games exclusive, I guess. Yeah, man, what the hell? I think it's just, man, nostalgia for 2010's gaming, Jan. I think that's what's happening.
I was gonna ask because I've never been a big Call of Duty head at all. Is Black Ops 1 and 2 carry a lot of favor amongst the audience?
Oh, yes.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because when you had mentioned, or when in the story here that people on PlayStation platforms weren't able to play it unless they dug out their PS3, I can kind of see that. And
yes.
I personally don't want to do the mental exercise of people being nostalgic over the PS3 because I don't want to do the further math that the PS3 was a long time ago at this point.
Yeah, so these games are 2010, 2012. So we're talking 16 and 14 years ago. Yep, and that is enough time for those annoying 11-year-olds that were calling you slurs on Xbox Live and PlayStation Network back then. Now have a lot of disposable income and probably a lot of time. They're like right in that sweet spot of their late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah,
and it's, oh boy, that is clearly showing up here in the numbers.
Some of them can still call me slurs, and some of them may have gone woke.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, some of them are like politicians by now. We can go back and see what they were really like as kids. It's like to your point, Black Ops 1 and 2, massively huge in sort of the lineage of how people feel about Call of Duty games. I was always a little bit more Modern Warfare personally. That I was on that side of the fence, but I love these games, Black Ops 1 and 2, and for a lot of fans, Black Ops 1 and 2 clear. They're at their peak. Doesn't get better than that. Giving this fan base that hasn't had a real way to play these games, especially together in any functional way for a very long time now through two consoles, a way to get to them. Yeah, it hit very hard. I guess just what does this mean? Like, what do you do now? Like, I guess you're probably going to do some more remasters or ports or whatever for PlayStation. But I think people are like, hey, we just wanted it back when it was simple. It was, I get a game, I go online, I pay for online, I'll do that, and then I just want to play with my friends, and then I'll buy the game next year. And maybe I'll buy a map pack even. I think people are just craving that so hard that this delivered on exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Grubb, that definitely not maybe, that the Call of Duty had become way too bloated. We saw at this Xbox showcase at the end of that, how they ended it with the newest Call of Duty, and everyone was just kind of confused and just wondering why. And perhaps this is a sign for Microsoft that this is what players want. Players just want something more simple, more streamlined. They just want to be able to play with their friends, and maybe they don't need 50 different types of skins. Maybe they do, but at least in the case of Black Ops 1 and 2, they just want to get online and pew their friends and miscellaneous people. And maybe we don't need a game at the gigantic scale that Call of Duty has like avalanched into.
Yeah, and like I'm not someone who, like I've said before, I don't get bothered by the skins, but this like even the stupid skins, and I've seen like pushback in like chat before, like no, you'd be like no, it's ruins things. This actually like illuminates it for me a little bit. It's like this was back when a game like Call of Duty could just exist in its own silo and have its own aesthetic. Whether that was good or bad, it didn't matter. It could be its own thing, and you spent so much time in it that you can't help but grow a connection to it. And it could it doesn't have to worry about what Ariana Grande was doing and Hirsch popping up in the game or something like that. It could just exist separate, and you had your own thing that you could own as a fan of it. I'm like, okay, that makes sense to me. And it's like, can these bigger games, like as Call of Duty has to like keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, has to make more and more money, can they go back to this? I don't know, but I think they will probably find ways to sort of strike a middle ground by doing more of these ports or remasters and remakes, what that really ends up looking like. Because it's not like they have a ton of these they have to do this with. I think there's a handful of the Call of Duty games that really move the needle, and these are two of the biggest. Meanwhile, Halo Campaign Evolved really did sputter out of the gate, especially on PlayStation. This is from Reese Elliott as well. Beyond the Call of Duty doing ports doing gangbusters, the thing that stands out is Halo's notably slow start on PlayStation, which ironically stings even more next to the success of two effort-light Call of Duty ports. Halo sold 351,000 copies on PlayStation 5 in July and 452,000 copies on PlayStation to date, almost $28 million. $60 was way too much for this one, in Reese's opinion. And for comparison, Halo has sold through 212,000 on Steam and around 900,000 on Xbox. One can't help but wondering what could have been if Halo had kept the trajectory it had around Halo 3 and Reach, a remake of the game that started it all. Landing this softly on a new platform makes me pretty bloody sad as a Halo fan. I mean, obviously we have to point out this game doesn't have the multiplayer.
No.
Which is really that's what Halo's about. Like Halo, great campaigns. It really did. Had excellent campaigns that were very innovative and sort of defining of their time, and like the AI of the enemies, all that stuff for sure. It's about the multiplayer, stupid. Like, I'm not calling Reese stupid, but like that's like the feeling here is like, to Microsoft, it's about the multiplayer. What did you really expect here? What was this supposed to accomplish? And man, I have no idea what the answer to that question is, Jan. What was this game meant to accomplish?
I don't know, Grubb. I was under the assumption, and forgive my ignorance, this is me not doing my job well, that I thought this was all of the Halos, like at least 1, 2, and 3.
No, that's Master Chief Collection back from a long time ago now, which eventually became very popular after having a very, very shaky start. By start, I mean like the first 3 years.
Yeah, I didn't realize, and I could still be getting this wrong. This is just Halo 1?
This is Halo 1's campaign only.
Why would anyone pick this up?
Yeah,
I know that you can play this on a PlayStation now at this point, but like, I don't think the campaign, sure, it's remastered, remade. I don't think that is enough, because I think what PlayStation players would want is the ability to get online and play online in a competitive shooter or just a multiplayer shooter versus just a campaign. It just, I'm further baffled the more I actually learn and learn about Campaign Evolved.
Yeah, I mean, Feast of Violet in chat makes a good point. Like, no one is talking about this the way they're talking about like Star Fox. Like Star Fox, great foundation for the future of Star Fox, because it did exactly what you need Star Fox to do: be pretty, play great, do that same game again, sure, but like let's set it up for the future. This is very similar, but it misses a huge component with the multiplayer, and it's and yeah, I don't know how this really sets this series up for the future in any way. I don't think it's bad. It's not bad. It's a pretty good game. It's a pretty good version of that campaign. That is just it's misreading the room or something. I don't know. And now it's very clear. Like, oh, maybe Halo is from the time before the era of gaming you should really be focusing on if you're trying to find the audience that's really spending a lot of money on games right now. I just think between we have this chart here from Reese, July's top PlayStation games by copy sold. Number one, 2012's Black Ops 2, 2010's Black Ops, and those are literally those games, the ports of the games.
Yeah.
Then resynced version of Black Flag at 1.6 million, which is from like 2012 or 2013, I think 2013. And then after that, it's Football Club 26. Like after that,
I mean,
Halo's from a different time than those games. Its time may be over for now.
Completely fair and completely a probable outcome, Grubb. But also the Black Ops 1 and 2 remakes, re-releases, those are the full game where you do have the option to play multiplayer. This is just like a siloed off version of Halo. Because when I think about Halo fondly, yes, sure, finish the fight, etc., but like I remember hopping online the most, playing Capture the Flag,
of course, or like
hitting someone with a gravity hammer and then someone calling me slurs afterwards.
Absolutely. Yes. I that's the true experience you have over there. All right. We have a couple more things to get to. Man, the Intellivision Amico box art, which I'll post here, Jan, real quick, so you can try to post that if you want. Oh, wait, hang on. Let me just get a copy of the image. Copy image and post. All right, never mind. There's just a link to the image. That might be easier, actually. Those are just Nintendo characters.
That's illegal.
That's Wario. That's Rosalina. There's Shy Guy. Bowser Jr., Diddy Kong, Luigi. It's not like one Nintendo character. It's a lot of Nintendo copyrighted material.
Is that the Excite Bike?
It might be the Excite Bike. Honestly, that one looks like Evil Knievel. So I think maybe they're just copyright infringing on Evil Knievel there and his trademark. What is happening over there?
I don't. My knowledge of the Intellivision isn't 100%. Isn't the best, but the font with the Intellivision Amico also makes me think of WarioWare.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Honestly, the M looks like his butt. Looks like Wario's butt quite a bit.
Why is this a goof? Why are they doing this?
Let's clear some things up. Tommy Tallarico no longer involved in the Intellivision Amico. He did have to step away. Although, God, I wish he was involved in this so we can talk about him related to this decision. He worked hand in hand with Miyamoto on Metroid Prime. It never would have happened without Tommy. And then he clearly got the rights to just use this, right? No, he's not involved. The Intellivision Amico is just baffling. So I don't think this thing's actually coming out, but this is like leaked box art of like what it would have been. So maybe this was placeholder. I don't think so, though. I just think that company was completely insane and incompetent.
You know, placeholder sometimes just nothing. Don't put anything there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Put just a bunch of crazy junk instead, not Wario.
Yeah. Fish.
Weird.
Perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. Put just a tropical fish.
Grubb, they list the 6 games included, and they could just put those 6 games that are there instead of these Nintendo people. There
is a problem with that. Those games all look like dog shit. They were always really bad. They were basically like mobile games that they had. Hey, come be on a Intellivision Amico. Not there's anything wrong with mobile games for the most part, whatever. But it's when you're trying to like compete as like, hey, this is you don't need a Switch. This is the family console, the Intellivision Amico. Those games weren't going to sell it. You need something else. And apparently they thought that meant Wario. Did they think not using Mario? They did use Luigi. Did they think not using Mario or Link? They'd be like, hey, we're fine. That's all.
Yeah, they're only using the B team. They're not using Princess Peach. They're not using Donkey Kong. Maybe they thought they could get away with it.
You're going to get in a lot of trouble for saying Rosalina's on the B team with Sean. You got to be careful, all right? You should probably apologize to them later.
Sorry, Sean. Sorry. Hey,
this week, today, let's see here. Bubbly Basin expansion and version 2.0 are out for Pocopia. You going to check that out, Jan?
I don't know if I will.
Time.
It's a busy time, but I'm glad that they're supporting Pocopia. Though,
yes,
because like
exactly.
I still have friends that are fiends for that game.
And let's see here. Tomorrow, the major release is Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls on PlayStation 5 and PC. Looking forward to see what people think of that game. I'm definitely curious. And then I guess this broke recently. Let me just say this real quick. The Switch 2 version of Diablo 4 is reportedly coming in September. Just saw that story break recently. So, okay.
Why?
Diablo 3 did really well on the Switch, Jan.
Well, that's just why September is why.
Oh, shit, I didn't think. Yeah, good point. Honestly, just wait till next year at this point.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Okay.
December even. Put it on December. Put it on Christmas Day so people get a Switch 2 and then go buy this game on the eShop or something.
Yeah. Celebrate the devil while you're celebrating Jesus.
It's just peanut butter and jelly, baby. All right, that does it for the headlines. Let's get to the poll question from Monday. I have it over here, but I'm going to get the freshest, most up-to-date results for you all. Let's see here. Are you getting Big Walk? Yes or no? 70% said no. 30% said yes. And that's of our audience. I definitely am interested to see how this game sort of progresses in terms of its appeal to wider audiences. Does it turn into a It Takes Two,
yeah,
where it ends up selling like 15 million copies or whatever? Is it one of these? Does it get like the peak shine? Does it really take off with streamers and people kind of just see the prox chat fun and want in on that? And it sort of doesn't matter that it's a very different game in a lot of ways. Does it sort of miss its audience? I don't know. It feels like it's doing pretty well so far.
Yeah, it's doing pretty well. I see a lot of people saying that this may be at the top of their list or around the top of their list when it comes to Game of the Year season. I do understand people's woes, though, of not being able to collect and build a group of friends or a group of people to play this with.
Definitely.
At least from the language of the game, you could just get through the game with 2 people because it'll scale to that from 2 to 4 parties of 2 to 4.
Right.
So, maybe you can scrounge up one other person to play this with. But it is a big hurdle for the game to get over. And I think the other challenge, Grubb, is that this current friend slop era we are in, I could see folks that were super into It Takes Two not realizing that this could also just be a couch co-op game with them and someone else. I don't believe there's like local split screen though.
No, because the whole idea is to use the prox chat. Like I've been like paying attention to my friends who are playing it with their kids because I'm considering that after we play some more. And Jason Finelli's he was playing with his kids, and I was going to ask him like, how are you doing it? Like what's the setup? And he like followed up immediately where he said he's like in a room with his PC, I think, and one kid is like on a PlayStation in the family room, and the other one's like downstairs or up in a room on her Switch 2.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. That could work. Honestly, we could just do. I might like the rooms upstairs are all kind of close to one another. We could just close our doors, and then I can like check in on them if they need help or something like that. But I might give that a shot. That sounds pretty cool. Now that is separate from can this game blow up? I think it's going to come down to this weekend, Jan. I think this weekend, if a lot of streamers are playing it, and it really kind of catches on that way, I think it stands a chance to be one of those ones where we look back next week, and it's got 50,000 concurrents or something. I don't know if it's going to have 500,000 concurrents, like something like that really takes off, like some of these other Friend Slap games.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a big success.
I'm not insulting the intelligence of streamers out there. Okay, I need to get this right out the gate. But a game like Peak, you are just getting from point A to point B, and you don't have to work with your teammates. Here, you're solving puzzles. It is a little bit more thoughtful. So I don't know if the streamers out there that are just screaming their heads off all the time and don't appreciate a game like Myst, Jeff Grubb.
Yeah, you got to have refined taste to really appreciate what's happening here. Like some people who are fans of Myst is what I would say.
I don't know, but it is a possibility that this could still hit big. Prox chat 9 times out of 10, at least for me, is always funny. And these guys have like big honkers for faces.
They do have big honkers for faces. All right, let's see here. New poll question. Have you purchased an EA game this year? Yes or no? Curious?
I think wasn't that Avatar game like good, or like didn't it hit
Avatar? Which one? The
Blue People.
That one was Ubisoft. That was Ubisoft. So
okay,
yes,
okay.
And that game was pretty decent. Yeah, it was. I definitely would put it sort of like a tier below Outlaws, but it was still like, that's a really fun 7 out of 10 movie license game that is doing its own thing, and they kept improving it. I think they added a third-person view for people who really wanted that, really needed to see their blue person. That's a game worth checking out still. Okay, we'll get the results of this poll question on tomorrow's show here on Giant Bomb. Speaking of Giant Bomb, it's a busy day, right? We got some stuff happening. We're recording stuff Blight Club later today. We're recording more stuff later today. So yeah, it's busy for us, but we'll have all that content out to you pretty soon. But yeah, Blight Club at 2 p.m. God damn it.
I gotta ask folks at home, would y'all be interested to see quick looks from games that came out this year that are like several months too late? Because I started playing Cairn last night.
Okay, yeah, I know I need to play more of that one.
I really like it, Grubb. It's like mature Big Walk.
Yeah, okay. Let me know if you need help
not
with
mature
that.
Big Walk. Baby Steps.
Baby Steps, yes. Baby Steps, yeah. I know people really like Karen, and I know it would be my kind of thing if I just stuck with it. I've played it, and I got it to a certain point, but I think I need to just kind of get over my baby steps walk. I was going to do the same thing. All All right. Let's see. Tomorrow, voicemail dump truck. The Cat Jerf Man's going to be happening soon, everybody. Keep paying attention for that. And on Friday, we're going to do the giant big walk, 1 p.m. Eastern, around that time. Maybe a little bit after GMM, actually. Just stay tuned after GMM on Friday.
Yes.
And we're going to play a lot more of that game. I am really looking forward to it. We're gonna set it up just like the quick look was. Sean's going to be producing it, right? I talked to Sean about that. He said he talked to you. Cool.
Yes.
So, yeah, tune in for that. You'll get multiple perspectives. It's going to be a good time. All right, with all that said, Jan, thank you for hanging out with talking to me about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Perfect way to start a Wednesday, Grubb.
Thank you all for watching and listening. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.